Good evening and welcome to Sensual Talk. This is where we talk all things sensual, tantalizing, and delicious. I'm your host, Emanuela Fernandes. There is no doubt that our subconscious mind is more powerful than we realize. Tonight, let's talk about ways to communicate to our subconscious mind through affirmations that can boost our sensuality. With me today is holistic nourishment coach and my friend, Ilana Gershon. Ilana, thank you for being a part of Sensual Talk.
Thank you. I'm so happy that we connected, and I'm so grateful and thankful that we have this opportunity to do this. So thank you.
My pleasure. Oh my goodness. Your home is beautiful. I'm really excited. We also must mention, so we are live. There's a little boy in the background that is calling right now for his mommy, which is for Ilana.
And I do these all the time, and my kids are usually with me, so they know that when I'm doing a video that I'm kind of off limits, so
Right.
we might hear him, but he should be good.
All right. Well, listen, so many things to get to. Before we go any further, I want to thank you all for joining us. I know a lot of you are going to be joining in tonight in the conversation. We want to hear your thoughts. We want you to chime in. And of course, I want to give a shout out to Dronish Media, who's sponsoring us tonight. And really so many things to get to. It is such an important topic. I like our kind of Zen vibe tonight because, we are talking about something that is related to spirituality, to mind, and truly just so exciting. So really, so many things to get to. You are by trade, someone who is very holistic, and you do take pride in what you do. You are very interested and very competent when it comes to things that are related to our mind, to kind of the relationship that we have, our mind and really our everyday life. But today, more specifically, we're going to speak about our subconscious. So what is the relationship between our subconscious mind and our sensuality?
It's such a great topic, and when you pose the question to me, I actually never really thought of it. I don't think about sensuality the same way that you do, because it is something that you're really passionate about and you're focused on. But when I thought about it, I love talking about the subconscious, because we as human beings think that it's our conscious mind, our conscious thoughts, what we tell ourselves, the stories on a conscious level that really run our lives and are controlling our lives. But the truth is that it's not our conscious mind, it's our subconscious. And what's so tricky and what's so challenging and interesting is that we don't have any conscious control over our subconscious. So the question then is, how do we tap into our subconscious? How do we actually really start to take hold of it and start to take control over our thoughts, our mindset, our patterns that we have of thinking and behaving, and our habits? So how do we tap into the subconscious? Something that I tell people all the time is that mindset is everything. So when you look at your life, whether it's your physical health, your health and wellness, whether it's your career, whether it's your personal, so your relationships, when you look at it from the level of mindset, you can really start making massive shifts, changes, growth, when you're really starting to tap into your mindset. So how the subconscious relates to sensuality is that when we can tap into the subconscious, we can really start changing those stories that we have, right? Maybe for some of us, sensuality is something that we haven't really paid that much attention to, or we've kind of repressed or suppressed. So by tapping into the subconscious, when we start focusing on our daily affirmations, we can really start to then tap into that subconscious level. So by tapping into, by starting to focus on our daily affirmations, there's something that I call the 4 questions. And this is something that you can apply to any part of your life, right? Whether you are having a challenge with something, a problem, you're trying to figure out a solution, you're trying to work on an area of your life. And those 4 questions are: what's working here, what's not working, what's missing, and what actions can I take? So when you get really clear, and if we're talking about sensuality in particular, if you are asking yourself, well, what's working in a situation? Maybe it's in a relationship that you have with your partner. Maybe it's the relationship that you have with yourself, with your own sensuality and your own sexuality, right? If you can figure out and get really clear on, okay, well, what's working? Because there are often things that are working that we don't necessarily acknowledge, right, or celebrate. We always as humans go to that place where there is a problem, where we are just hardwired to focus on the negative, but there are often things that are working, right? So how can you create affirmations around what is already working? What's not working, right? There are always things that we kind of focus on that are not working. Sometimes there's just something that's missing, right? And sometimes we're not sure what that thing is. So when you can get really clear on what's missing, then you know it leads into the fourth question, which is what actions can I take? So when you can answer those 4 questions, that's when you can then customize and craft these affirmations into your everyday life. So for instance, there's probably people watching that are thinking, okay, well, I've heard this word of affirmations, but I don't even know what it is, and where do I start, and what would they be like? So just to give people an example, an affirmation could be, I am a fully vibrant, sensual human being, and I attract sensuality, passion into my life, right? So an affirmation is something that firstly has to be really authentic and resonate with you as the individual. So an affirmation that I create for myself might necessarily not resonate with somebody else, right? So it has to truly, it has to light you on fire. It has to speak to you on such a deep level that it's almost like it ignites every single cell in your body, right?
So powerful. Mm-hmm.
Right, and there's no point, right? You can only fool your body and your subconscious so far, and because we're talking about the subconscious and we don't have conscious control over it, right? You have to access a really, really deep, authentic part of you. So when you can cultivate these affirmations, and if you come up with, if you really take the time to firstly answer those 4 questions, right? So what's working, what's not working, what's missing, and what actions do I need to take? When you get clear on that, then you can actually sit down. It could take you 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes to just sit down and start writing, right? It's a really amazing way to tap into your the creative person that's in you, because we all have that creativity that's inside of us. Some of us don't necessarily express it on a daily basis, but it's so important to tap into your subconscious through a creative outlet. And then when you sit down and you come up with maybe it's 3 affirmations, maybe if it's 5, maybe it's 10, it doesn't necessarily matter how many, and we're not trying to, create affirmations by effort and have an expectation of how many we're supposed to have, right? There's no attachment to the number of affirmations, but they have to really speak and resonate with you. So for myself, for instance, I have 3 or 4 daily affirmations that I have cultivated and really, really speak to me. And they speak to me to my very core, and I say them as often as I can whenever I remind myself, and it really does become a practice. I think that's something that's so important to get across to people, is that this doesn't happen, you don't just go to the gym one time and then you're strong and fit and healthy, right? It's like developing a muscle. You have to really commit to doing this work, and you have to commit to the practice of it, and then that becomes part of your daily life, right? And it actually starts to become so second nature that it actually embeds into your subconscious, which then starts to shift your conscious mind, your thoughts, your patterns, and that's how you create, a different relationship to maybe a story that you have about something. Maybe it creates a shift in your mindset in one area of your life. Maybe this is how you can actually create more sensuality and attract more of it into your life.
Mm-hmm. It is so powerful, and I find that people who are, spiritual and who have been on a spiritual path, some of them can't even imagine their lives without affirmations, because they really can be so powerful. But for some people who are really just beginning to tap into their, not only spirituality, but into their sensuality, how, like for the really beginners, how do they start crafting those perfect, sensuality boosting affirmations? Can it be something as simple as, I am a sensual woman, or I am a sensual man, or, really, how simplistic do they have to be to really, for our subconscious mind to get the message?
Yeah, it's such a great question. And it's so interesting because even though I talk about this and I'm so passionate about this now, I've been on this personal development journey for 20 years now. I've only in the last couple of months really taken on affirmations. So it's something that I always knew about. I knew other people did it, but I didn't quite get fully grasp how powerful it is until very, very recently. So something that I was just thinking about this morning is that there's an idea or there's a concept out there that unless something is written down, it doesn't exist. Right? So I'm somebody that loves pen and paper, and I come from the generation where we still used to write with pen and paper. And I think as amazing as technology is, right, that we can do this and that we can text people from all different parts of the world, there is definitely something to be said for sitting down with a piece of paper and a pen, or if it's a journal or whatever it is, whatever form of, documentation it is.
Right? Look at us. We're still writing things down on a piece of paper.
We are, as human beings, we haven't evolved to the place where we can input on a subconscious level that kind of information just from texting it on our phone, right? So there is definitely physiologically, there is so much benefit in sitting down, writing it out, right? So at first, I highly, highly, highly encourage people to take the time, if it's 10, 15, 20 minutes out of their day within the next week, and find the time and create the time to sit down, whether it's your journal or a piece of paper and a pen, and commit to writing down, right? That's the first important thing. Secondly, I would say once you get clear on those 4 questions, if those 4 questions don't resonate with you, that's totally fine. I would say focus on what your values are, right? When you know what your values are your non-negotiables, right? They're the things in your life that you know beyond your basic needs of survival, obviously, but they're the things in your life that are your true north. They really guide you in life. And so if you want to build these affirmations around your values, around who you are as a human being, then that's a really great starting point as well. And then I would just sit down, allow yourself no distractions, a time and a place where you can just really kind of get into this space and just start writing. Your affirmations might not necessarily come to you right away. You might not sit there for the very first time and start, know what to write. And there is no right affirmation. There's no wrong affirmation. The perfectionist in you is probably going to come out, right? All this stuff is going to come up. So I think the most important thing is just getting in the practice of taking the time and sitting and writing. And there are people that, really love to journal or really love to write in their gratitude journal what they're grateful for. I think any form of just taking the time to sit and write and connect with your inner self, your affirmations, if it's something that you really want to cultivate, they will come, right? As long as you keep the practice and keep working on it, they will come. And they can be as simple as, I am a sensual human being, right? It has to be something that's real and authentic and will fire you up, will really get you so excited. And I think passion is something that is so lacking for so many people. I know you're somebody that lives a really, life full of passion, the same with me. But I see and I interact and I coach and I work with people that, are going through their lives and going through their emotions, but they're really, lacking that passion. So that's kind of the basic way to start.
Right. And I love the fact that you mentioned pen and paper, right? Because I work also with some people who, are kind of on their paths towards reconnecting and reclaiming their sensuality. And I always say, have that respect and love for yourself to actually write yourself a love letter. Write yourself a love letter and really celebrate who you are. And if you are trying to reconnect with your spouse, write them a love letter. And it's not about the fact that it's not about how you write. And some people will say, I'm a terrible writer. And it's really not about that. It's really just about taking the time and, with your own handwriting, writing something that praises either yourself or your spouse or your whoever it is in your life who you want to be grateful for, and actually writing it down. It's a very, very powerful concept. So I'm so grateful that you're kind of mirroring this and echoing this. So this, I'm really grateful for that. We have about probably 5 minutes left of our time. I have another, I think, very important question. Many of us live very busy lives. And, listen, some of us live on our smartphones, right? Our social lives are on our smartphones. We constantly connect with our televisions and so on and so on. So how do we calm our minds in order for our sensual affirmations to really work?
Another great question.
Right?
The world has become so crazy, busy, and we all live busy is the word that I hear every single person
It's a hustle.
say.
It's a busy, busy hustle.
Right, and yes, given that life is busy, you actually have to work even harder to kind of carve out that time in your day to disconnect, right? To disconnect from all the craziness, and it's a lot easier said than done. I am very much a part of the craziness, and I see for myself times where I don't give myself that time and that space to just disconnect. So that becomes a practice as well, and a discipline, and it's something that you really have to commit to. And for some people, I think their idea of meditation is them, having to go on some really expensive retreat and sit in a dark room with their eyes closed, and that is not necessarily the only way that you can experience, meditation. Basically, what meditation allows you to do is just to connect to yourself, to your breath, to this very moment, because we live so much of our lives in our heads, running through our to-do lists, focusing on the next thing that's going to come up, stuck in whatever happened, and we're all over the place mentally. So when you can develop a practice where you just allow yourself and give yourself the gift of just being physically, mentally, spiritually in one place, right? And it doesn't have to be, like I said, in an ashram at the top of a mountain in India. It could be while you're washing the dishes. I love active meditations where I'm actually, moving and not necessarily sitting in a one static position. Driving is an amazing opportunity. When I drive, I don't want any music unless the kids are in the car with me. But for me, driving is a way of just disconnecting my conscious mind. And you can, just to see what's there, just to explore what's there. And without any judgment, without trying to control your thoughts, without trying to get too attached to what comes up. Right, to be able to just give yourself the few minutes of real just peace and quiet, and maybe if just starting with following your breath, right, just following the sound and the sensations and the feeling of your breath going in and out of your body. It's something that's so simple, and we overcomplicate it, because I think anything in life that's simple we tend to overcomplicate. But I think if somebody wanted to try and really set the intention, and I think a lot of this conversation really comes down to intention and what your intention is, and I think that this is a perfect time, it's the new year, to really set big intentions and big goals, and small goals, right? It doesn't have to always be big, but to really build into your life that intention of giving yourself the gift of being able to slow everything down, quiet down the chatter that happens inside our heads, and be physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually in the same place at one time, right? Because like I said, we tend to be pulled in so many different directions. And when you can give yourself that and really fill yourself up first, we know that you can then go and serve other people. You can be a better mom, you can be a better coworker and a better friend and a more, fulfilled human being and contributor to society when you yourself are giving yourself that gift.
So true. Ilana, we could talk about this for hours and hours and hours, but I really, really want to thank you for taking your time to be on Sensual Talk tonight. So much good information. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much. This was so fun.
It really was. And for all of you who joined us tonight, my voice is really, really going down tonight. I've been coming down with something, but I want to thank you all for joining us. I want to thank you for being here this evening, and I really hope that this inspires you to really just take a little bit more time to yourself, to reflect, and to really, really craft your very own perfect sensuality boosting affirmation. I want to one more time give a shout out to Dronish Media for sponsoring us tonight. And of course, if for more information or to connect with Ilana, follow her on Instagram, Ilana Gershon. And just like that, you will be able to get in touch with her. She's fantastic at responding to messages. And really, there's wealth of knowledge to be shared from her. So I really, really hope that you will take this opportunity. I'm Emanuela Fernandes. We really hope that you're going to join us next time on Sensual Talk. Thank you.
Thank you.
So much fun. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, it's a wrap.
Okay.
All
Bye,
right.
guys.
All right, there we go. Now it's a stretch. Nice stretch. And there we go. Sensual.